Welcome to the Level Up Podcast, where finance leaders share real stories, insights, and connections that move them forward. Tune in to learn, sharpen your edge, and level up together.
All right, Nico Rocco here, host of Level Up and founder and CEO of CFO Alliance. Okay, this is not another boring podcast. This is Level Up. We're the most forward-thinking leaders in business, in finance, in operations from the CFO Alliance community and beyond come to share what it really takes to lead in today's, this is an understatement, unpredictable world. Each episode, I have the pleasure to sit down with CFOs, with finance and operating executives and leaders of all types across business and industries, leaders who I and you come to believe are redefining what leadership is all about by stepping up, leaning in, and leveling up. These are not theory-driven interviews at all. They're raw, they're real, and they're packed with insights you can use. Past guests of Level Up have included what I call power players, like Andrew Platt, like Albert Ramos Jr., Phoebe Bishop, Justin Norton, who I just spent time with yesterday in Denver, Colorado. Visionaries like Alana Esterich, I spent time with last week in Tampa. Aaron Wilkins from Southern California, who I was just with a few weeks ago. And Tracy Williams, my dear friend, who I get to see in Houston when I travel there. So if you're a finance leader, an operations leader navigating change, challenge, or opportunity, this is your podcast. Okay, I have a special treat for you, friends. Today, I'm joined by Chad Blackburn. Some leaders adapt to change. Others challenge the assumptions that created the status quo in the first place. So that's why I'm excited to sit down with Chad, because he's a leader asked tough questions about AI, education, talent, and the future of work. While most executives are still debating whether change is actually happening, you're going to hear from Chad in just a moment what he's doing about it. Not debating it, doing. But I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that Level Up, this podcast series, is brought to you by Oracle NetSuite, the #1 cloud ERP, trusted by thousands of high-growth, finance-led companies from around the world. NetSuite gives CFOs and finance leaders and their teams real-time visibility, automation, and control across their financials, operations, and planning so they can lead with confidence and scale with speed. Oracle NetSuite is a proud and longtime global partner to the CFO Alliance, supporting our shared mission of empowering finance leaders to drive strategy, build resilient teams, and deliver next-level impact. So if you're serious about building a modern finance function that keeps pace with your business, NetSuite is your platform. Over 1,500 CFO Alliance members are currently running their businesses on NetSuite. Join them and learn more at netsuite.com. Okay, so now let me dive in. You know, listeners, that I do not use AI to write my intros of my guests. So this was yesterday as I'm flying home from Denver. I got to spend time with Chad a few weeks ago, sitting next to me, okay? But now I also did a little deeper dive. So this is what I wrote about him, okay? So I get the opportunity as CEO of CFO Alliance to learn something new every day and learn from so many different people. The people I enjoy learning from most aren't academics. They're also not influencers. They're not professional keynote speakers. They're operators. They are builders. They're investors. People who've spent years making decisions when there weren't playbooks. That's why I'm excited to have Chad Blackburn join me today and join you. Chad has spent his career around high-growth companies, healthcare innovators, emerging technologies, capital markets, AI, and digital assets. He's worked with founders, investors, executives, and boards during periods of growth, disruption, and uncertainty. In a world where everyone seems to have a prediction about the future, Chad is somebody who's actually placing bets on it. He's in it. He's around it, and he's talking about it, and he's willing to share. I watched him do it in person in a room where people were like a little earlier and kind of like, tell me, but maybe afraid to ask. And he said, let me show you, and let me show you comfortably. I'm looking forward to exploring what he's seeing, especially around AI, what he's questioning, and where he believes the biggest opportunities are emerging for leaders willing to challenge conventional thinking. So, Chad, welcome to Level Up.
All right, Nick, a handwritten intro. Now that is artesian. I love it.
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
it's like a lost art now, isn't it?
It sure is. It sure is.
So, Chad, now we're gonna go. This is my tradition. We got to go back in time, and we gotta begin with the Chad story. So when I say where does the Chad story begin, what's the first thing that comes to mind that you want to share with us?
Mm. The Chad story begins getting pulled out of class in elementary school to go fix the computers for the teachers, right?
You're
So
kidding me.
I gravitated to it for some reason. There's a part of my brain, even though I'm not a professional engineer, there's a part of my brain that is geared to be attracted towards engineering tools and engineering problems and problem solving. And that has been something that, has driven a lot of my curiosity over the years. Yeah.
So, like that spark, it probably initially scared you a little bit too. I mean, excited you, but scared you. I mean, just roll up your sleeves and you dive right in. But that diving right in has now changed to all of us having to dive right in. It's a force. There's like no sitting on the sidelines though. But there's also so much noise, Chad, and I think that's what's really scaring us. We don't know where to look, how to prioritize, and how to steer not only ourselves but as leaders everywhere around us. So let's start with your philosophy and approach towards calming down the noise. That's really where really look to someone like you to provide our listeners with some guidance. How do you
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that in this day and age?
So I think first thing you've got to recognize is that we are going through a business epoch right now. This is it's transformational, it's big, and it's happening whether you like it or not. And this is one of those things that you can't ignore. And it changes the way you interact with your clients, with your technology tools, anything else that you have built out over the years is now up for reevaluation. So, as a part of that, how do we start thinking through any type of changes, big changes that we might make in our business? And I don't know that it's that different, but I think the fact that this is so technical in nature,
Mhm.
people naturally want to give this decision-making process to the IT department. It would make sense, right?
Yeah.
They should know the most about AI, right? They're the ones that told me that about training. I didn't even know, right? So, but if you're letting IT, if you are steering your AI enablement or your AI transformation, if you're indexing off of anything other, then how do we support the essence of how we deliver value as a business and a team? You're approaching it from the wrong direction. And in this situation specifically, in this business epoch specifically, your IT department is your vendor. They're there to support you, but you, as the business leader, need to be driving this from a strategic perspective, not from a technical perspective, but really examining how do we deliver value and what are the required steps leading up to that? What's our workflow? And really considering that each step in that workflow is up for grabs. Is it a candidate for automation? Is it a candidate for offshoring? Was it something that we had offshored before, but now need to give to automation? Should we give it to a SaaS tool? Should we hire an employee? All of these things are evaluatable at a different level because AI is the greatest research tool ever, right? It's what you
Yeah.
need it to be in the moment that you're using it. And we're going to use AI to help us understand and reinforce how we deliver value and then how we dissect our workflow as we look at what is what is something that we should replace with AI.
Yeah, I love that you use the word value because it's something that we as finance leaders can and should feel most comfortable anchoring the foundation for what we need to protect and or drive and or increase and or own
Right?
responsibility for.
Economic signal is a clean signal.
Yes, yes. And if we anchor on that, the pathways and the action plans and the people and processes that we can lean into and direct and bring people along with are not foreign to us then. There's similarities to anything we've done in the past then too, and it's not something new. It's just application of it in a different spectrum.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet for so many, and I'm going to give you a real time, and maybe you can unpack this because it becomes real. Let's talk tangible, right? That's what we're known for in the CFO Alliance. So yesterday I'm in Colorado, and one of our newest members came into the room because we're the safe place, right? Nobody egos, nobody selling books, nobody using consulting jargon, no experts, right? We're all there helping each other along, meeting people where they are in their journey. And new CFO Alliance member walks in, very complex, complicated global nonprofit with operations on every continent. And she, as CFO, said, I'm here because I want to enable our nonprofit to operate at what's much better performance so that we can execute on our mission at a much greater level than we can. And AI can enable that. I know that. Here's where we are today. 40 different technologies interwoven into our operations, and our people and process and culture interwoven into that, creating both inefficiencies and ineffectiveness in some ways that can be untangled.
Ooh, all the bad things, right?
All the bad things that can be untangled. And I, as CFO, have that opportunity now because of the advancements in AI and technology to untangle this.
Oh, yes.
Help me undo this. But where do I begin? Was her big question to the room of 24 other peers she had there.
Oh, yes. Oh, buddy, this is a good one. Oh, I would love to have this one as an engagement. And because first off, we're going to reiterate the place where you begin is your mission, how you deliver value. Obviously, it's a nonprofit, but I'm sure it has an invoiceable moment. The moment when the money changes hands. And that is your North Star. So how do we support that the best way we possibly can? And then what she's going to do is she's going to start interviewing everybody that's involved in that effort and understanding their supply chain. And as she gets into this, she's going to realize that there's things that we can research about our industry and tools and best practices. And then there's things that our team has written down, SOPs, workflows, a list of all 40 systems and what versions they're on. But then there's the expertise that lives in the team members' heads, the implied expertise. And, we might think that we've got workflows written down, but when I have somebody show me their process, the amount of times we have to stop and back up because somebody just went pop, 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 right?
What was that you just did?
Exactly, right? It's the whole point apprenticeships and internships exist. It's because the applied expertise that's in an expert's head is virtually impossible to write down because we don't even know that we do these things. And so getting as much of that written down and understanding those processes that support our North Star is where you start. And of course, AI is the perfect tool because you can consume as much information as you want. You can digest it and still it out. Heck, she could probably even say, hey, give me a drawing of what all of this looks like now that we've got our whole picture, right? Give me a drawing of where our starting point was. And now give me a drawing of where we are now that we've got all the details. And at that point, then we can start to see, obviously, this is where we're going to start. And we're going to start by connecting system 1 and system 2. And we're going to start by connecting the Teams account for country number 1 and country number 2. And instead of in 2 different walled gardens with 2 different Microsoft contracts, by the way, we're going to call our rep because they should have solved this already, right?
Right.
And so until you know where you are on the map, you're not going to know which direction that North Star is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you, one of the other conversations that we had yesterday was about trust. And if you have the trust, protecting it, but if you have to strengthen and build that trust, what tactics and tools you can utilize to, especially during this effort, to enable and strengthen that trust? What's working for you with people in this effort? Because it's a human game. We've all, as a community, agreed enough with this is meant to replace us. No, this is meant to lift us, empower us, and actually, in some cases, help us strengthen relationships amongst us as humans working together. What's
Oh, yeah.
working for you in terms of strengthening relationship? Because we all have varying degrees of ability to embrace change. That's what makes us human. You have to recognize that. My ability to embrace change may be different than yours, than the person that I'm working with or for. But what tactics work well in this effort in terms of ensuring that the trust component from the human to human factor is addressed, and a component that a CFO or a finance leader can utilize to ensure that that piece to it is handled appropriately?
Yes. Yes. And, I think the example that we should anchor on here is the concept that robots are going to come take our jobs. If you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see that I did a post a couple of weeks ago about this exact thing. I actually had my agents do a huge research project, and I told it to go find articles that talked about go find articles. There's when did Excel version 1 come out? And it was like, it gave me the date, and I was like, find articles in that area where people declared that the CFO is no longer necessary, or this is going to get rid of accounting. And then I was like, when did QuickBooks like really become a tool that you could like DIY with? Right? Go find articles that sell doom and gloom. And I aggregated these things and created a LinkedIn post on it. And so I think the thing to address is, are robots coming for my job? And if I actually sit down and we talk about my workflow, are you going to use this against me? And are you going to fire me? Are you trying to get me to tell you how to get a robot to replace my job? And I think it's important for people to understand that if you listen to the doom and gloom that the media is paid to sell, you are going to completely miss the upside. I think Steve Jobs said it best, right? It is a bicycle for the mind, right? Everybody has seen him do the presentation about the efficient use of energy and how, you know, the human walking was like the least efficient. And he had all the different animals, the California condor soaring.
Yeah.
And then he said, give the human a bicycle. And boom, instantly at the top, above the California condor soaring, right? It is a bicycle for the mind. This is the exact same concept. And one of the most beautiful things about this is that when you actually start to look at what is my North Star that we're collectively delivering on as a company, or that I'm responsible for as a team member, and then I start to dissect all the administrative efforts, I can start to actually look at these different administrative stops and start to resent them. Oh my God, this thing is stealing from my ability to deliver on our North Star. Oh my God. Of course, I'm going to give this to the robots because guess what? It's robot work.
Right.
Yes, give the robot work to the robots
That's
and do
right.
the thing that they can't do and sit down for 5 minutes and figure out what that is.
You're so right. Yesterday in Denver, Kate Daniels from Oracle NetSuite used a perfect example, and she said she had to put together a very important presentation, and she used the tools available to her that had never been available to her before. And that presentation, it took 7 minutes instead of 4 hours. And her first thought in the past would have been, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be out of a job." And instead it was, "Oh my gosh, I now have 3 hours and 53 minutes to do more impactful, valuable work,
Mhm.
which means I'm going to be able to do more impactful, valuable work for the enterprise I lead and serve. I just became more valuable to the company I lead and serve, not less valuable."
Bingo. Bingo. We can only make so many decisions in a day. There's only
Yeah.
so much stuff we can do in a day. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like right there, it's like it's empowering, it's enabling, and also allows you to marry passion towards those goals too.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of that eye rolling of, I wish I had more time to do what I want to work on because I hate doing the stuff I am working on.
Bingo. Bingo. I know we're primarily talking to CFOs,
Yeah.
but I mean, a lot of the accounting industry is focused on compliance,
I
right?
know. I know.
And, I think the expectation in the compliance element of the accounting industry was that when digital accounting really hit, that it would go ahead and take care of the parts of accounting that people hate. And I think that it took 20 years, but we're finally there. But you see it in the numbers. You see it in the
Yeah.
30% drop in students not
That's right.
going to accounting. You see it in the fact that a material percent of compliance that are at the partner level are more than 5 years past retirement age. So you have got
Yes.
pressure from both sides because nobody wanted to do it. The only thing they hear about in the finance world are the parts that nobody wants to do. And guess
That's
what?
right.
We finally don't have to do them. We can give them to a set of tooling that is far more accurate and provides us and serves our ability to deliver value and unlock value and research new ways that we can figure out how to deliver value, right? If you're not
That's
spending
right.
energy on busy work and work that just, should be given to robots, I can come up with new ideas. And of course, now I have the greatest ideation tool ever invented. The cost of ideation just went through the floor.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it dropped. Right. That's absolutely right. The,
Yes.
the 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 intellectual curiosity, the critical thinking, the analysis or analytical skills of the accountant now, because of our passion and desire to understand basis, the qualifiable, quantifiable driver we have to understand basis can now be unleashed, combined with intellectual curiosity and critical thinking that we didn't have time for because we were
Bingo.
mired in the processing side of accounting.
Yes, yes, so much so, so much so. In one of the organizations that I'm a part of, it's kind of the stealth part of what my LinkedIn says.
Yeah.
We even recognize that, oh my goodness, like our ability for our team members to keep their heads on a swivel and find new revenue streams and actually ideate those, flesh those out, and even present them to us in a way that makes it easy for us to understand. We decided to lean into that hardcore. And if
Yeah.
you're a team member and you invent a new revenue stream, you get to you get to keep a part of that revenue.
That's awesome.
And
That's
so
the future.
that's right. So
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
inside the company, you now have
Yeah.
a team of entrepreneurs. You've
Yeah.
got a client base, a ready-made client base that very well might want to pay you for that idea. And then the
Yeah.
rest of the team members, you now have a built-in sales team.
Yeah. See how it is. So to me, it is the great lift. the great enabler
Oh,
instead of the
buddy.
disabler.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, we are about to see things and be surprised by new ideas and new ways to make money, and the amount of small businesses that are going to be
Yeah.
spooled up for things that we never even thought of. Oh,
It's so funny
it's so
because
exciting.
it's counter to all the concerns people have about, will this mean that the next generation is going to skip all the hard stuff because they're going to miss all of what we had to
Oh
learn.
my goodness. Anybody that has gone headlong into AI knows that you don't do less hard stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
you now have the greatest get unstuck machine ever.
Yeah.
Plow right through into the hardest of the
Yeah.
hard stuff. The starting points, the sticking points,
Yeah.
all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that it actually forces the mind into the complexity earlier in time instead of shielding the mind from the complexity or keeping most from having to go there.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
yeah.
they kept the tears from being forced to go there, or keep the laziness from going there too.
There you go.
You're now forced there, right?
Well, you're incentivized.
Yeah, or incentivized is a better way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So let's talk about industries.
Mhm.
Where are the accelerators? Where are those that are lagging? Can you point to any industry phenomena where you could say, I see collectively movement, I see lag?
Mm. I don't know that any industry can't benefit from this. And I don't know that I have seen any industry in particular lag. What I have seen is individual leaders
Uh-huh.
decide to ignore this for whatever
Yeah.
reason. Maybe they tried AI a couple of years ago using a chat bot.
Yeah.
And they asked a question. They gave it very little context. It didn't give the answer that they expected, and they wrote it off.
And they
Uh,
just went, I'm done.
they said, "Oh, that was a gimmick," right? Um, so I think that is what I see is people that anchored um, and have uh, really just backed off from any type of curiosity. And I think that's
Mhm.
more of a macro problem, probably about that individual in particular. Now, the people that I see are excelling. Um, oh, buddy, when that light bulb goes off and it clicks that their industry, their company, it just became something different, right? The way, if I am I do a lot of work with lower market accounting firms
Mhm.
on their modernization plan, law firms too, on their modernization plan for how do I adopt AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I
Because their business models have a great opportunity to be reformed and redefined. Right.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, as I work with an accounting firm and we start to interconnect the system that their audit practice uses with the preferred tool that their tax team uses. Oh, and by the way, we just bought another accounting firm. We haven't integrated them yet, but they use a different set of systems because they're a little bit different. Do we have to like switch them into like the old school tools? No, no. Let's just get them all talking to each other,
Yeah.
right? And especially in accounting, when the light bulb goes off, that this isn't accounting work, this is data transformation.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, as this data moves through our organization, the professional is going to apply their special expertise to that data and make that data orders of magnitude more valuable. And
Yeah.
as CFO, you all do that all day, every day.
Yeah. So it's easier to understand that and see the impact and the value of it in real time and the immediacy of it too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what are your sources, Chad, in terms of like must have, must do, or what are some new habits you have adopted to stay connected to the here and the now around, you know, the source for information, real source from an AI standpoint in terms of education or trend or voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the biggest source is by doing and exploring,
Okay.
right? Just by using these tools. It's just like it's the same thing when you started using Excel and you realized that, oh man, like there's a whole nother set of formulas in here.
Right.
Oh man, there's an entire plugin for FP&A. I had no idea, right?
Right.
And so that's going to be your number one source, right? Um, I do listen to a handful of podcasts, and then of course
Do you have a
talking
favorite?
talking to others.
Yeah.
AI Daily Brief, fantastic
Uh-huh. Yeah.
podcast, fantastic podcast. Nice short form, in and out. Keep you updated on some of the things that are macro in these in the set of toolings and how you might want to explore something new. There's another little newsletter called the Neuron, which is
Okay.
fantastic. It's actually owned by an entrepreneur here in Nashville. Um,
Awesome.
and so that's another really great resource. But
Cool.
doing and actually getting in there and actually
And
using it in your day to day. And if you've been putting this off, and I see this all the time where people say, gosh, I wish I need to go take a class for this. I need to go like pay somebody to do some training. Um, um, I no,
yeah.
no, no. And by the way, if you are the one that is administering training, the only way to train someone is to sit down, understand their workflow, and help them work through a specific part of their workflow. Because
That's right.
training someone on, just let's just say a general used AI tool like a Microsoft Copilot or
Right.
OpenAI has Codex. Everybody's heard of Claude
Right.
Code. OpenAI's Codex is so much better. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so much better. Um, and just help them through something that they do on a daily basis and use it once.
Yeah.
Done.
Start with comfort. Start with something that creates comfort. I always say too, right?
So let's just start with an easy win.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and make it
Uh,
specific to them.
yeah. So if a finance leader is listening right now, what's the very next move in terms of a skill set that they should work on to stay relevant, impactful, and future ready? I mean, what's the muscle move they should really work on?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first off, they're going to have to realize that this is here. This changes the way that we lead a finance organization. This changes the frequency of how we present FP&A data, how we present expense data, how we present budgeting, how we build out dashboards, how we monitor the data coming out of our ERP and our inventory systems. Um, you need to recognize that everything has gone from report driven to real time,
Yeah.
right?
Speak in the
And
current tense and voice, my friend. You're right. Right. Yeah.
so, stop thinking of, a 6-month FP&A report and start thinking of, okay, how do I deliver a dashboard that's got a
Mhm.
slide? I want,
Yeah.
I want to look at 3 months. I want to look
Yeah.
at 6 months. I want to look at a year.
Yeah.
Um, for really any other measurable metric that's important to how your company operates, think about how we can deliver that information in real time and
Yeah.
really start to recognize that all of these systems that you use and pay for, they all have little connectors built into the back of them that allow one machine to talk to another machine. And a lot of people have never turned those on or they've
Wow.
just never explored. And you now have a tool, just a basic tool like a Codex, right?
Yeah.
Or a
Yeah.
Claude Code that can actually take that connection and do something with it, like
Yeah.
build out a dashboard, or just show me what the 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months FP&A is, right? Spit it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So which is actually exciting and more powerful, right? To me, it's. I don't think you're going to find a finance leader that's not going to be like, okay, I get it, I can do that, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
No, I'd love using old reports, right? They're old from the moment they're out of date from the moment that you generate them. No, no,
no,
real time.
yeah, totally get it. So, Chad, what's the best way? Tell us. I want people also to get to understand you outside of the professional persona. What's one thing we don't know about you that you'd like to share? What's one thing you do outside of work that we would find surprising?
Hmm. Oh man. Well, the main thing I do outside of work is I've got a beautiful wife and an almost 6-year-old daughter and an almost 3-year-old little boy.
All
And that's
right,
the main thing that I do outside of work right now.
that's awesome.
I'm telling you what, once you go down the AI rabbit hole, work actually becomes kind of a thing that you do all the time.
It's very
And if you
true.
don't stop yourself, you're gonna stop sleeping.
Well, you know what? Cherish those days. Those days
Oh
and
yeah,
years go fast. That 6 and 3 becomes 16 and 13 and 26 and 23 very quickly.
I
Speaking
hear.
from experience.
Yep. Mhm.
You have your priorities straight, my friend. Flip that, or you're right. So, listen, what's the best way for people to connect with you, Chad? Because your story's still being told. You're going to share. You're a sharer. I know that. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, yeah. I love connecting with folks on LinkedIn. That's the best.
Okay.
That's the hub. That's the easiest
Yeah.
place for people to
Awesome.
connect with me. Yeah.
What
Hit
would
me.
get your attention? What would get your attention if somebody connected with you on LinkedIn?
Send me a direct message. Send me
All
a DM.
right.
Mhm.
All right. All right. You've heard that, friends. So, Chad, I promise me you will continue to contribute in this community because I talk about you now after seeing you in Nashville and you beginning to educate us. But we also need your voice in this community too, because you are living by example and you're leading by example. I cherish that you spent some time with us today, and I hope that you'll spend time with us going forward as you continue disrupting in the most positive way and keeping us on our toes.
Oh man, it is my pleasure. Happy to do it.
Yeah, so we touched on the surface, we dug down a little bit, pulled some layers out, but there's more layers to come, Chad. I hope you'll join us again. And listeners, if you enjoyed what you heard today from Chad, first of all, we've hyperlinked everything that Chad referenced. So you heard some recommendations on podcasts, you heard some recommendations on some tools and resources. That's why we do this series. So if you have recommendations for guests like Chad, please send them our way. If you want to be a guest on Level Up, send them our way, please. So don't just read about leadership, learn it from leaders like Chad who are living it. And if you like this episode, please subscribe to Level Up. Stay tuned for more. And look, the best thing I can tell you is we're in this together. This is a journey. You've heard firsthand from Chad that, hey, this is something we've all been doing all along. This is just another chapter. And the fun part about all of this is that it's moving fast, but it's using and applying things we've done. We're just doing it now in a brand new setting, but with all of our hearts and minds and all that we have experiences before now brought into this. But we're gonna get through it, and we're gonna have fun doing it. Guests, join me again for another episode of Level Up. Chad, thank you again for joining me and speaking so freely.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to the Level Up podcast. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. More stories, insights, and connections to help you level up.